Synth Network.
Good evening, everyone. We're back. It is the ProSynth Network live show, episode, I believe, 38. So we're getting close to getting a half century. We'll be doing that very shortly. We are back after last week's little Christmas hiatus, and today it's just going to be like an end of year retrospective, very laid back, lots of talk and banter with these guys. Welcome, Cryss, Ben, and our special guest this week, our very own Simon Alexander, over there in the, I suppose not really the east, you're kind of more central, aren't you, to me, in a straight line.
Well, you wouldn't want to walk it. But.
No. But anyway, welcome one and all. How are we? Did we all have a good Christmas?
Yes, wonderful.
Good. Ben, you still seem to be dressed for the part.
Yeah. I thought I'd make an effort with it being our Christmas special tonight.
Indeed, albeit delayed, but yeah, we got there.
Yeah.
And Simon, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay. That's it.
No, and Simon, I've got to do this in his infinite synth cave. How are you?
You couldn't resist it, could you?
I couldn't.
I thought Christmas was cancelled this year. Have I missed something? But no, I was working. But so yeah, back, and happy Christmas, everyone, albeit a bit late, and let's hope it's a better new year. Indeed,
absolutely. It can't get much worse, can it? Let's say hello to everyone that's also in the chat room. We're expecting lots of input from you tonight, because we are, as we said, we're going to be just kind of looking back at the year that was, talking about the highs and the lows, the things that excited us or disappointed us, the things that maybe didn't happen that we thought might happen or happened in spite of everything. So let's say hello to Jupiter Boy 74. We've got Native VS, Sasquatch, Atto Z, Wagyu, Paul Artola, John Phillips, Neil Loughran, Corrosive Abuser, Hiana Seta, Marshall Arnold, Imperfect, which is Aaron, of course, Synth Addict Mac, anyone else? Inky's in there, hello Inky, and Graham, Edna's Disco Machine. And there is a Facebook user in there. I'm going to say Mr. Facebook user or Mrs. Facebook user. If you can link your Facebook account to the StreamYard app within Facebook, we'll then get to see who you are, because that's just kind of the way it works. ASIO Head's in there as well. Welcome, sir. And if I've missed you, I apologise. We'll catch up with you later on, I am sure. If you're not in the chat room, why not? Get in there, because that's where all the good stuff happens. Cryss seems to have disappeared off of our screens at the moment. I don't know what's happened there. Hopefully he'll join us back very soon. So before we get on to various little topics, here he is. He's back. There he is. Gone a bit orange, but are you red through embarrassment, or is that just the lighting?
I'm a little jaundiced right now.
Let's just have a quick word with our guest Simon. How have you been since we last met? Any new acquisitions?
Yeah, I mean, I've been busy. Can I, just before we start, I just want to say hello to a dear friend of mine, Rick Spellerty, who's sadly in hospital with the dreaded C. He was in ICU, and he did say if you could borrow an iPad, which I think you can, watch tonight. So Rick, if you're watching, all the best, fellow, and I do hope you get better soon.
Indeed. Hello, Rick.
Get well soon, mate.
Yeah. So, I've obviously been busy with work, but I did have a bit of a spend on Black Friday. I got some software. I got some stuff from Spitfire. I got the Swarm percussion, which is great. I haven't really gone into it that deeply yet. But also that Aperture orchestra thing they gave away. Which is lovely. Yeah, it's a really nice sort of addition to, because I've got the symphony, BBC Symphony Orchestra, which is great. And then I took the plunge with the Essence FM. So I got that on a pre-order, which I said I was going to do. Looking forward to getting that in February, and hoping that we're not going to get stung for import duty on that, which I don't think we will. Hopefully not.
No, it's looking good, shall we say, in terms of the deal.
Correct. And I've been working quite a bit on patches for my Super 6. Yeah. So
Lovely. Oh, you got the dark one. You didn't go for the blue one. You went for the dark one.
No, I think I prefer the grey. The blue one's nice, but I just didn't like the red bits on it. If they'd left that blue and white, I think it probably would have been more to my fancy. But I got the dark one, and it's
excellent.
It's lovely. I really like it. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Everything I've seen and heard about that is very nice indeed. Let's just quickly go to Cryss over in California. How are you? Did you have a good Christmas? Did Santa bring you anything nice?
Yeah, I realized that I hadn't bought a hardware synth this year. That the last synthesizer that I bought was like October of 2019. And so I quickly repented of my sins. And I just picked up this little guy here. Little cat.
Oh, the Behringer cat.
Yeah.
Meow.
So I'm firmly a dog person, but I've got a cat now too.
Initial thoughts? Have you had a play?
Yeah, actually, the first one had a problem with VCO2's sub-oscillator, so got on the phone, and they quickly sent me out a second one, and second one was working great. In fact, I've already worked on a track with it, so...
Nice.
Yeah,
excellent
I like it.
Stuff. Good. And we'll just cross over back here to the UK, up north, to Ben Simpson. Ben, happy Christmas, and did you have a good one?
Yeah, just, quiet thing. Been doing a little bit in here. Got that new monitor, so that's kind of changed the way I'm working at the minute, because having such a wide display, it's...
Well, you've got it turned off at the moment. You can't really sit. It is a super wide thing, though, isn't it?
I turned it off because the screen saver kicks in, and I noticed the other night, like, it looks as though it's coming out the top of my head. It's like this, like, weird, like,
excellent
abstract thing emanating from my skull. So
it's a lovely thing. It's a lovely thing. Cool, excellent. Right, well, we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We've got some news topics that have kind of happened over the last couple of weeks, and we just kind of brush over those and bring people up to speed on those. We'll also talk about our weekly poll discussion, which has kind of been extended by a week because we didn't do a show last week. We were kind of like in the Jamie's kind of Zoom chat room thing. So yeah, we'll come to all of those as we do. There's really just kind of very relaxed today because it's the last show of the year. So we'll crack on through. Let's talk about a few things that have cropped up in the last week or so. So first of all, we've got this from we're all big fans of Spitfire, and they've released a new free library for their labs. Whatever you want to call it, and it's called Lap Steel, and it's rather nice. Has anybody had a chance to play with this one? Any thoughts initially?
I haven't. I have a actual Lap Steel, so
right.
got around to checking this out, and I was curious to hear what you guys thought of it. Of course, it seems like from the video they did that there was a lot of processing. In fact, all of the sound examples that I've heard, which was just a couple clips, didn't have anything that sounded like traditional lap steel. It was all very processed, like they've done with some of their like modular piano and things like that.
It's kind of a labs thing, that, isn't it? They do that.
Yeah.
A lot of it. Yeah, but
Absolutely.
It's a lovely sound again, and it'd be superb to use it in soundtrack work and that, like ambient stuff. Fantastic sounding thing again. But I haven't had chance to use it on my machine. I've just watched demos and stuff because I've changed computers over with getting this new monitor. That was the purpose of that, so I could go from my iMac to the Mac Pro. So putting all the lab stuff back on it after not doing it so long ago because it all went pear-shaped. Yeah, it's a little bit daunting at the minute. I've only just put the Arturia stuff on it, which was a bit of a pain. But so I will get round to doing it, and this does sound like an excellent addition to the collection. So, but I haven't got round to putting it on yet.
No, I've had a little dabble with it, but say not tried sort of really to do anything with it. But it has that labs thing where it's it says lap steel, but it kind of doesn't really perform or behave like a lap steel. So it's interesting. Simon, do you like the lab stuff?
Yeah, no, I've got quite a bit of their stuff. I haven't downloaded this particular one, but I've got choirs and all the other. It's free, isn't it? I mean, it's great that they're doing it. I mean, I think Spitfire, they're pretty much at the top of their game, aren't they?
Yeah.
With all of their stuff.
They've had a great 2020, really.
Yeah,
haven't
and I just think they're getting better and better, really.
Yeah.
So got to watch my hard disk space though.
This is it. This is
getting
exactly
fuller and fuller, and but no, I'm certainly. I don't think I've really heard anything that they put on labs that I don't really you can't really say anything they put on there is not good. I mean, it's all. And considering it's free, it's just amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, the other thing that is kind of related to Spitfire is Christian Henson's Pianobook project, and this was released this week, and it's called Winter Voices. And Pianobook, by its name, you'd think it is just a huge collection of sample pianos, which it is. But there are other things within there as well, as you can see. There's all sorts of different things. It's more about, I think, getting people sampling again, in the kind of the old-fashioned way of just, what have I got here? Oh, I've got a wine glass. Let me see if I can sample that and make an instrument out of it. And I'm sure that it fires the imaginations and gives Spitfire, I'm sure there's some kind of marketing benefit there. But also because, virtually all of it is completely free. There's some really good stuff here. But Winter Voices... It's a completely free library. It's quite a big one as well. You either need a full paid version of Contact or this new thing called Decent Sampler, which I'd never heard of before. And so I thought, well, I don't have a full paid version of Contact. I'll try this out. And it is a really kind of basic sample playback device, which is, again, it's completely free. There's a few little things that need polishing in terms of its use, but other than that, it's perfectly usable and available in all the major plugin formats. And this choir sample library is the trailer video, which this is half an hour long, but there's lots of people just doing vocal things and just recording themselves in slightly different ways and unique ways. And they've come up with this very mellow sounding thing. And there is actually, let me share this other thing. So our very own Native VS in the chat room has written a piece, and let's see if we can get this up and played back to you in the show. He's called it Vocal Winter, and I need to sorry. It's been 2 weeks since I've been doing this, and I've just kind of lost my edge. So there we go. I choose that, and then I click share audio, and that way we can all hear it. So here we go. This is Native VS, or Robert Schlusser as we know him, and here's this track. Let's see if we can get this. So there we go. That's it's about 2.5 minutes long, that. But go over to Native VS on SoundCloud. And you can check the whole thing out there, and it uses not only the Winter Voices, but also Modular FM bells, Space Island Toy Steel Drum, the Emperor King MVB prototype, and those productions felt piano, which are all available on pianobook.co.uk. Chris, you really liked that one, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought this was a fantastically good sounding track. Very dark, and the tones in it are beautiful. If I don't know if people remember, but those little kind of intro bell type things on the countdown song, I used some of Robert's FM modular samples that he put out and used that for the track. So yeah, great job. I want a whole album of that.
Yeah, and there you go, Native VS. The gauntlet has been thrown down firmly at your feet.
Yeah, I'd agree on the album thing as well, because that was a great piece. That nice to hear it in context of a bigger picture. That'd be really good. Yeah,
definitely. Simon, you like that?
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's very atmospheric, and a lot of sounds similar to what Triple Spiral have been doing for Omnisphere, but I'm definitely going to check that out. But yeah, well done, Native. That's a beautiful piece of music. Yeah.
Definitely. So if you want to get hold of Winter Voices, you can just go over to pianobook.co.uk. You can get everything from there, and if you sign up and go through, there's a whole bunch of stuff there that you can avail yourself of. Loads of different instrument types, and you can also contribute as well. And that's the main thing, I guess, with Pianobook is being able to contribute. Let's quickly do this one here, because this one we picked out a couple of weeks ago, so we weren't on last week. So this is from the land of the ice and snow. This is from a Swedish company. Let's make sure I say this. Is it Klevgrand or Klevgrand or whatever? This is Pipa, their expressive vocal synth, currently on offer. Pipa, yes, because what tickled us was the beautiful Scandinavian or Swedish pronunciation of this. We'll maybe pop the video on in just a moment, but the plugin is currently available at half price on both Mac OS and Windows and iPad, so $24.99 currently. And what it is a singing wavetable and granulating synth with loads of expression. So it's they call it an expressive vocal synth. I guess the best way to demonstrate this would be to actually let people hear it. So let's do that. Let's choose the right one here, and we go there and there, and we share that. And let's play this for you.
Hi, Tove here at Klevgrand, Stockholm. Today I'm going to talk to you about Pipa, our expressive vocal synthesizer. Pipa is a crossover between a wavetable synthesizer and a granulating sample player, specialized for vocal sounds. Pipa's output, and up in the right corner you have the factory presets, divided into 6 categories and containing a wide selection of patches.
Sounding instrument, using this kind of I'm kind of intrigued by this, because I've been using the formant shaping thing on the FS1R and getting these kinds of sounds from that, and it is really very, very nice. Has anybody had a chance to play with this one before we kind of go through it?
Yeah, I bought it. I mean, how can you not, after you watch that video and hear her say Pipa? It's absolutely adorable. So I picked it up, and at first I was poking around and I was like, I'm not sure. It's a great price, $25. And then I've been working on a track that I've not finished, and this week I was like, all right, enough of this. I'm just gonna set that one aside for a moment and do something with the cat, and just again use some stuff that I've recently bought, and I'm going to throw it into a track. And so I did that, and then I thought about this vocal synth, like, this would be very interesting to have that kind of weaving through the track along with the lead track that I did with the cat. And so it actually turned out really well. I just kind of made a preset myself and adjusted it, and was working the mod wheel to add some modulation to it. So if you don't do anything, it can be a little bit static, but if you really play it, it sounds quite amazing. And as I said to you guys, like I was kind of curious to see what would happen if I would take this and throw it into a bunch of unusual effects, or have it in the background of tracks. I've all of a sudden gotten a whole bunch of different vocal things. So having the Imtron Pro, and they did their isolation vocal pack for that. So I haven't gotten to explore a lot yet, but I have used it, and I'll put out that track probably Monday on my channel, and you guys can kind of hear what it sounds like in the context of a track where it's blended with other instruments.
Simon, does this sort of thing tickle your fancy?
Pipa.
Pipa.
I've spent a fortune on choir, vocal, and God knows what else. And I've come to the conclusion actually some of the better ones are the lower spectrum of the money.
Yeah.
I just, when you put that up, and I hadn't seen this before. This is the first time I've seen it, and I looked at it, and oh God, it looks a bit cheesy. But when she actually starts playing it, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, for $25, I mean, Christ, it's worth just getting and having a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
I do like I'm really into my vocal software and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe
I wonder sometimes if we, as human beings, have more empathy with sounds that feel like they're of a human origin. Even if they're synthesized, there is something about those kind of human-esque sounds that I think we're kind of simple, especially if they're used in an expressive way rather than just trying to substitute regular kind of vocals and stuff.
I mean, the human voice, there's so many variations of it. I mean, a lot of these software, and I'm talking about the Heaviosity and the East-West stuff, where you can put in different phrases, type in a phrase, Happy Christmas, and it'll go Happy Christmas.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's so, it's limitless really. But I think when it comes down to, filling a song with just a little bit of a choral sound, this thing will work quite well. I would have thought so. But yeah, I love all that stuff. Really into sort of that sort of.
Of course, we can't forget all the what do they call it, the Japanese things, Vocaloids, and all of that kind of stuff. Which is, didn't the people behind Plogue do some kind of a little free Vocaloid thing where you could type in, words or phrases and then play them out on a keyboard, and every press of the note would then move on to the next syllable.
It's a bit hit and miss, to be honest with you. I mean, because the way that when you type in a phrase and the way it comes out, it's not you. For example, if I want to say hello Rob, I couldn't just type in the words hello Rob. It's you type hello would be EW, and it's ooh. Otherwise, it just doesn't sound right. But I do some stuff at work where for mocking up stuff, instead of actually recording the voiceover, we use a text-to-speech conversion thing. Right. And
if you do have to type phonetically, and and to fool the thing into pronouncing it the correct way, or even things like when you've got an acronym, you have to type it out as separate letters, and then it's all a bit hit and miss, but it saves a lot of time.
I'm surprised no one's actually come out with a software version of Speak and Spell, because if you try and find one of those Speak and Spell machines, they go for silly money now because people are sampling them.
There are some sample libraries here and there, aren't there? But but they're never the ones. They're never kind of fully complete. Like I wanted to do 2 divided by 0 because I'm a massive Pet Shop Boys fan. So I wanted the 2 divided by 0, and for that is a Speak and Math, and they're even more rare to find. So Yeah, definitely.
That
The,
Thomas Heckman, he's got a whole collection. He's got every single Heckman, he's got a whole collection. He's got every single one.
Right.
And about 4 of each variation, you know. I didn't realise there was that many. I just knew the speaking
it
spell.
was
I
a
didn't know
big
the
thing.
speaking mouth. Wow.
What was the one that I had? I had The Little Professor, I think, when I was a kid.
Yeah, Little Professor.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a music one as well?
Yeah,
I think
I'm
there
sure
was.
there's that.
Like
Yeah,
like
probably.
Major Morgan or something like that.
That's it. Yeah, Major
Yeah.
Morgan. That's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, here we
So
go.
Sam Lowry in the chat says UVI has a speak and spell library.
Oh yeah, that could be in their toy
Oh, wow.
toy thing, isn't it? Because they keep pushing that, but I keep thinking that's an expensive library for what it is. Because it's quite niche, isn't it? And I think I know it's at half price at the moment, it's something like 189 at the moment. But even then, €189 for something you might only use every now and again. Oh,
Yeah, Mutable Instruments Platts, as well as the Arturia Microfreak also has like a vocal synth in there that has a certain amount of phrases in there, numbers and odd phrases.
yeah,
That's kind of fun to play with, and I made some patches just using parts of it. You know, you play it against the words, so you're not saying entire phrases, but if you're just using the vowel formats as they're being spoken, it can kind of create an interesting sound to a pad or some keys.
yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. That's Klevgrand.se for Pipa. Which I love I love the whole Scandinavian accents because they're all very similar but slightly different. You know, Icelandic and Norwegian and Swedish, and yeah, they're lovely, especially Finnish as well. Because I support a football team whose star striker is a Finn, and I just love it. I love listening to him speak. I love watching him score goals, which he didn't do last night. God damn it, Simon!
My
anyway.
son's watching. Hey, Jamie. They did us proud last night, mate.
Yeah. So let's move on to this one. Like we really needed another Jupiter 8 plugin. So this comes from Tal, and so Tal have a very good reputation for good quality emulations of Roland classics. This is the Tal J8, which is their version of a Jupiter 8. It's available in Windows, Mac, and Linux formats. I can't remember how much it is, but it's not stupidly expensive. And currently
It was
has
about $64.
50 odd quid, I think. Yeah.
so with the discount, £56.57, which includes the tax. So really not a killer amount of money. Did anybody? I mean, I don't need this because I've got the Arturia one, I've got the Roland Cloud one. Between the two of them, I kind of get there.
I've downloaded the demo.
Yeah, and
It's great. It sounds really good. It's a lot better than the original Arturia Jupiter.
right.
I don't know how it rates with the compared to the new one because I know the new one's a lot better. But it sounds a hell of a lot better than the original Arturia to Jupe 8. And it's kind of on a par really with the Roland Cloud one. But just say that where the Roland Cloud one's really up front and in your face, this is like back a little bit. Kind of, it's got a bit more of a hardware feel to the it's less, I don't know, less pristine and in your face. It's as if it's going through some sort of output stage or something, The filters are really nice. My only criticism of it is for me, it's pretty heavy on the processor.
Right.
My processor could run 2 or 3 Roland Cloud Jupiters, probably even more of the Arturia one.
Yeah.
But this, my processor was halfway with just one
wow.
instance of it running, which it's not really a slouch, this computer, so I'm quite surprised at how heavy it was on the processor for me. It's a Xeon though, so it's getting on a bit, I suppose, maybe.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Anyone else fancy one of these, or are they content with either the real thing or the plugins that currently exist?
Yeah, so I don't think we talked about it on the show. I mentioned it in the Facebook group, but so before this came out, I just having fun about a week and a half ago or so, and thought, let me just compare all the Juno stuff because Arturia had just come out. So I went through and I have the Tal Uno LX. I've got Cloud 106. I've got the new Arturia June 6. What else do I have? There's another one in there. The Roland Zencore, and then my hardware Juno 106. And so I played them all together and kind of tried some different settings, and just to try to see what I really preferred or what sounded. Now, 3 different Junos are represented there, and I would say probably the 6 and the 60 are very close in sound, the 106 being a little bit different. So knowing how they sound different between the 6 and 60 and the 106 and kind of taking that into consideration. I mean, to me, I felt like the Zencore and the Tal were, like the Tal I still like a lot, but it seemed like a little more static, like not as much movement as even a DCO Juno would have. And so when it went to like listening to some examples of the J8 and kind of comparing it to the Roland Cloud Jupiter and the new Arturia Jupiter, the new Arturia Jupiter is really good. It's radically different than the old one, and between that and the Roland Cloud, they're both very good sounding. And just for my taste, I heard some nice presets and things on the J8, but it just didn't seem like it was as alive as the Roland and Arturia ones for my taste.
Yeah. Simon, I can't remember. Do you have an original? You do, don't you? Yeah. Somewhere along there.
If I get my finger to it.
I'm pretty damn sure. So
Yeah.
you clearly, do you have any interest in a software version of this?
Well, yeah, it's easier than going all the way back there and
Yeah,
playing.
this is true. This is true.
That's like a 15-minute walk back there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so far away.
Taxi,
See.
please.
Don't humour him, Chris, because I get confused now. If you get the Roland Cloud,
Yes.
now are they Zencore or this ACB? Because one's better than the other. Is that right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're ACB.
ACB,
Although,
are they?
but there is
Right.
isn't. I can't remember now. There is a Zen version, isn't there?
Yeah.
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 I mean, I have heard the Roland one, and I think it's very good. But let's be honest, I'm sure this thing's very good. Only thing with the Roland one, I suppose you have to subscribe to the whole £80 a year, is it, to get it? I don't know. So personally, no, I've not compared them, and I don't think I'd want to really. I mean, again, because it's the same. Every analog. If you put 2 Jupiter 8s next to one another, they won't sound identical.
Exactly.
Really. But I just was looking at the front panel of it, and there's a few emissions on it. So look, for 50 odd quid, do you want that, or do you want to go out and spend a fortune on a real thing? I mean,
Yeah.
But I'm still not going to close the door on Roland coming out with a reissue of it. I just got a feeling, because they must be watching what Dave Smith's doing and Moog and everyone else and what they've done, and why not get on the bandwagon? The Jupiter
Indeed.
X is a great keyboard, but it seems to have gone very quiet. But there again, I don't think it was designed just to be a pure emulation of the Jupiter 8.
Oh no, it was more than that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
But,
Yes. So there you go. Tal-software.com if
Yeah.
you want one of those. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, with these, just to kind of go off of what Simon was talking about, I mean, we're really quite spoiled. And so, I mean, I for myself, I'm going to get really nitty gritty with it and go like, well, I like this, I don't like this. This sounds better than this. But, just to kind of step back for a moment, all these soft synthesizers that we have are really phenomenal, and that if you spend some time with them, you're going to get the sounds that you want. And then, of course, we're all going to favor one sound or the other. And kind of fortuitously, Matt Johnson had that Jupiter video that came out recently, and just kind of going back in the video where he's doing some sound. I mean, the whole video is great, but those sound samples of the Jupiter are just phenomenal. And I you know, he's an incredible player. First of all, I don't always like the sounds that he has. Like sometimes they're great. Sometimes, like the Moog 1 video, I didn't like at all. But those Jupiter sounds that he's getting there are great. Like you know, for those of us that don't own a Jupiter, to go and sit and listen to him play that.
Yeah.
Wow, there were some amazing sounds there.
But isn't it always the way? I mean, I listen to demos of equipment and think, my God, that sounds great. And then I either get one myself or I listen to somebody else play it who's maybe not as good. And you think, oh, it doesn't really sound all that. And this is what I dread every time I buy, you know, I mean, I'm like Simon, I've got an Essence FM on order. And I've heard some amazing demos. And I'm just absolutely crapping myself that when it arrives, I won't be able to make it sound that good, and I'll be horribly disappointed. But yeah, it does help when you get somebody who knows how to get the best out of an instrument. Give it a demo.
Yeah, at least with keyboards, you know, everybody can press the key the same way. I mean, I can't play Rachmaninoff, and I probably never will. But the thing, it is still the playing field's a little bit more level than say with something like guitar, where all the fine movements of how you touch it, how hard you press, what part of your finger is touching the string, the mass of your hand, you know, all the velocity of, you know, all those things are so much more complicated than just hitting a note like this. So at least when I hear somebody fantastic like Matt Johnson play something, if I hit the same chord as he does, I know it's going to sound the same, whereas you can't say that with some other instruments.
True. Yeah, true.
Here's the thing. I will just say this. You know, when you buy all these new soft synths, and again, I've only heard people play what they played on YouTube and stuff. When you get them now, and I'll just relate back to the Jupiter 8, when you bought a Jupiter 8 back in 1982 or 80, whatever, the presets on there were pretty awful. And now you've got a wonderful, because you know, you've got some pretty clever guys out there that write all the presets for these soft synths. So the actual starting platform is substantially better than it was back in the day. So I think, you know, when you play all these wonderful presets on these soft synths, and you go, oh yeah, but what does the real one sound like? I think in some respects, going back to the real instrument, because I guarantee, you know, I mean, I've written some stuff on my Jupiter 8 and it's got some presets in there, and probably if you A-B'd my original to the presets you've got on the Roland Cloud, or this one you were just talking about a moment ago, the software one probably would, preset wise, probably sound better in terms of presets. So, you know, it's a wonderful starting block. And
absolutely.
I just saw that Greg Hawes' second one has turned up on Reverb for $22,000. You know, you know,
you're right about the presets being awful though years ago, because there's been a few since I've bought, like the Poly 61, the Juno 106, and one of your first jobs when you got them was to rewrite all the patches, because most of them were unusable. So you had to write patches that you could actually use.
You know, when the Junos, talking about the Junos, when the Junos came out, the Juno 60 in particular was I think it was probably the first synth that we got that was properly programmable. But, you know, you had some really nice patches written on that. And now, with the Prophet 5 being reissued, you've got some guys that are, you know, playing the original 40 presets, which John Bowen did just as a starter. But they're editing and manipulating these 40 presets, and they sound a hell of a lot better than they did back 40 odd years ago.
Yeah. I mean, going through those preset lists, and you come across Oboe or UFO,
Funky Cat, all that sort of stuff.
I think there's something in that.
Referee's
as well,
whistle.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think about it though, back then, like, a sound was really trying to emulate an acoustic instrument, wasn't it? Most of the time. Yeah. So when we heard them, this preset is a cello. That's nothing like a cello. But I need a cello for track 6, so I'm going to make my own cello, which was still no better, but you thought it was better because you made it. And now, when we look back now, there's this whole new area of sounds that aren't trying to be anything else, they're just themselves. So when we hear those presets now, it's like, that's a good sound because we've adjusted.
I mean, there's certainly there are some sounds, historic sounds that for example, Nick Rhodes used on Rio, which are just absolute classics, and they're his sounds, you know. So the machine is capable, but now, as you say, you know, it's just like, well, I'll go through. How many presets would these things have now? 500, 600?
Yeah.
You know, the Duke Trade's got 64 presets on it. It's nothing really. So, and don't forget, they're not named or anything. So it's just play it. Oh, that one sounds naff. That one sounds a bit decent.
Yeah.
I'll edit it and mess around with it. But you know,
And also the post-processing done on a recording really shapes the sound well. Because then, you know, you've got some nice compressors or reverb or whatever other effects that you're using that are part of the sound. I prefer that synthesizers have effects on them, even if they're not going to be the ones I always record with. Yeah. Because sometimes that I like to bake it into the patch. It's like part of the way that you play the patch is dependent on the effects, and so if everybody's using something a little bit different, it's not going to sound the same. But having that kind of flexibility where some of the key parts, a certain delay, like a dotted eighth delay that's bouncing back and forth off of the quarter notes you're playing, and then if you want to add reverb or chorus or something in your DAW, that's fine, but it's not like an essential part. But I think with a lot of these classic tracks, we're hearing the whole chain of sound. So yeah, when somebody sits down for the first time with a Jupiter or an OBXA or something, they're like, well, this is not really the magic I thought it was.
And I just spent 20 grand on it or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, when digital reverb came out, I mean, the first digital reverb that I put a synth back through, and I think it was about 1983, was the AMS, and it was just like heaven. I'm floating on cloud 9. I've heard something, because back in those days it was the Great British Spring, which was this. It was about 4 foot long spring in a tube, and it sounded a bit naff. But now, if it hasn't got digital reverb built in, it's like, well, where is it? It's. I mean, you were playing that Model, Rob, and that sounds incredible.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds phenomenal. Now, to get that out of Jupiter 8, you've got to stick that through quite a bit of compression effects, reverb, delay, and.
I mean, it was one of my biggest disappointments when I first heard a Fairlight in the flesh, just straight out of the outputs. Was like, that doesn't sound anything like how I heard it on a gazillion records. And then it's just like, oh yeah, because it doesn't have its own effects, so it's going to be swathed in anything to make it sound, because, you know, let's be honest, it wasn't perfect. And so, you know, it's one of the things you have to accept very early on with anything like this, is that none of it has built-in effects, and you come up with a sound, but you really have to work it through the effects to get something that's, you know, instantly, you know, you can dial up a patch, you know, on a Cobalt or anything modern nowadays, and it's there instantly with shimmer and chorus and whatever, you know.
I was going to say that there's certain synths now that the effects are as much the sound creation process as the synthesis, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
Well, this Essence FM that we've just bought, Rob, has got, you know, if you took all the effects off of it, I wonder what it would sound like. I really do.
Quite. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And go back to the Fairlight. My biggest disappointment with the Fairlight was I couldn't hear bugger all over the sounds of the noise
of the fans.
Sound like a helicopter. I've just bought a helicopter that weighs about 40 kilos. Yeah.
I remember when I first powered one up in my room, which was it was a different room, but it was about the same size as this. And I was like, how the did they use this?
Yeah.
Because it's just like it's.
You need it in a different room.
Well, and very often you
do. Turn it on and your lights in your room go dim.
Yeah, indeed. Well, there you go. So that's the TAL, their version of the Jupiter 8. So you just go to the TAL website and find that. I just want to throw this in, guys, because we couldn't do it last week because we weren't on air. But our great friend over in Australia, Mr. Ranz Adamson, sent us a message, and I thought I'd like to play it for you all.
G'day, Robbie, Ben, and Cryss, and everyone else at the Pro Synth Network. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope 2021 is an awesome year for everyone. Stay safe, and we'll catch you then. Cheers.
I thought that was really nice of him.
What a nice bloke he is.
Didn't even ask for it. He just sent it. He said, "Hey Rob, Happy Christmas." There you go.
I love the little.
I've got nothing in there at the moment, but cheers.
Cheers, friends.
I like the little crikey he's got next.
Crikey.
Brilliant.
Yeah, good man, Ranz. Thanks ever so much, and I hope you had a great Christmas. If you're watching this, You probably won't be watching live, so you'll probably watch it on catch up. I know you do. So I hope you had a great Christmas and have a fantastic New Year, and continue making great shows. I did sit on yesterday's one and was dipping in and out as and when. So let's tell you what. Let's bring some of this stuff in. So let's talk about 2020 and let's just kick back and relax. We'll kick off actually with the weekly poll discussion, and we'll bring this up. So Cryss asked the question of you all. Let's see, get the right screen up here because I don't always have. There we go. So he asked the question: what is your favourite new hardware synthesizer of 2020? So that's a synthesizer that launched, or should I say, went on sale in 2020. So the first thing that tripped a lot of people up with this, including myself, was synths that came out in 2019 but you thought came out in 2020, but because this year has just warped time, that you just think, no, that can't have been over a year, but it was, such as the ASM Hydrasynth, which we can't include in this, even though it is down here and got a number of votes. You can't really kind of include it in this thing because it didn't launch in 2020. So what did come out and what did people like? Let's do this in reverse order. So the Erica Synth didn't get any votes. Sorry about that, Cryss. I know you threw that one in there, but didn't get anything. The Dark Matriarch, that got 1 vote. Nordwave 2 got a couple. Korg Op 6 got 3. The Kodamo Essence FM got 3.
4. I forgot to vote on that one.
Oh, well, there you go. It got 4 in, and that puts it up there with the Jupiter X and the Waldorf Iridium. I was surprised the Iridium only got 4 votes there. The Moog Subharmonicon got 5. The Behringer Pro 1, was that wasn't 2020, was it?
Nah,
no. Get out of here, Michael. Honestly, he got 6 votes, but I'm sorry, we're going to discount that. The Korg ARP 2600, of course, that did come out this year, and that got 6 votes too. We're going to discount the Hydrasynth. And then the Behringer 2600, of course. Interesting that only won by 1 vote.
Was that actually out yet, the Behringer 26?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
People are taking them in.
Though not for lowly Americans.
No.
We don't got it yet.
Sequential Pro 3. Was that 2020? I thought that was before.
But I think that was 2020.
Well, it was shown at NAMM, wasn't it? So
yeah, that's true. Let me
Yeah.
just get rid of that banner there because I'm covering up Cryss's gorgeous face. So Sequential Pro 3 got 8 votes. It's all very tight here. Wave State 9 votes. Polybrute 9 votes. Cobalt 8 got 11 votes, and that was definitely one of my choices. The Udo Super 6 got 12 votes. And then, of course, the winner by a long stretch. I mean, even if you take the votes from the discounted synths and add them and spread them across the top 3, the Sequential Prophet 5 and 10 became...
Oh, but which one?
Well, this is true. But it got 26 votes. I mean, I think it's the one that I think took us all a little bit by surprise, in a very, very good way, and it was great to see it back, and great to see Dave Smith popping up left, right, and centre, because he's always good value for money. But yeah, so
I thought for a moment you were surprised that it won, but I get it. You were saying it was surprised. It was a surprise when it came out. I was like,
yes.
As soon as I made the poll, like, this thing's going to win by a landslide.
Yeah.
The thing is, I mean, even if the 5 got 13 votes and the 10 got 13 votes, it still won.
It would still won. Yeah, exactly. So yeah. So hands up, who's got a brand new Prophet 5 or Prophet 10 Rev 4? Simon,
I've not.
I was just waiting for Simon to go. Yeah, I got one.
I
of
nearly
each.
raised my hand because I've got a brand new Prophet 5 Rev 3.3, which I've had since 1983. But when you said Rev 4, and I've got a Prophet 10, the proper one that weighs half a ton. But
Yes,
you've got a T8 as well, haven't you?
He's got them all.
I've got them all. Yeah, I love the. In fact, the Prophet 5. If my mate Rick is watching, Prophet 5 is my favourite synth of all time. It's probably the worst synth of all time in terms of reliability, but the original. But yeah, what? Why would I go out and get another one?
I don't know why.
Reliability.
You know, why have you got as many fairlights as you've got?
Why have you, Rob?
Well, this is true. Well, you know why. I mean, I've got a good reason.
No, I'm absolutely delighted that people are now playing this machine. It's such a basic synth, but it honestly sounds phenomenal. And the thing about it that really gets me, and I'd love to shake Dave Smith's hand and say, you've got the biggest gonads to make that a $4,000 synth with a mono output. Fair play to you, fella. Fair play to you. Because it takes some doing, honestly. I mean, but no, also, I think he could have put them in a really crappy wooden case and said it's still a Prophet 5 and people would want. But having looked at Marshall's one particularly, the case on it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
It is.
How do you feel about it, like, not being improved at all? I mean, apart from the reliability and the connectivity that has, but...
well, it wouldn't be a Prophet 5 then, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? If they'd have, like, say, maybe, like, put an effects section in there or some other new feature... Do you think that would put people off? Is it an improvement or?
No, I think it is. Well, he's done some improvements on it. I think he's this slop thing and the tuning thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Prophet 6 is what you're describing, really.
Yeah.
And I think if you want all the bells and whistles, go out and get a Prophet 6. There's some really great videos actually. Some guys that have done ABs with the Prophet 5 and Prophet 6, and to be fair, they're very close. They are very close. It's only when you go now and switch between Rev 3 and 2 and whatever. Now, what I will say is that the original, which I've got on the wall back there, they've now got this board which takes the Curtis chips out and puts the SSM filter chips in that, so you can get the original SSM chips on a retrofit with the original Prophet 5 as well. So a lot of people are doing that, which changes the color of those, but
how nice is the new one? It's switchable filters.
Great.
You have the vintage knob.
That's
and also to be able to get a tin voice. I mean,
that's the biggie. That's the biggie. Yeah, because it note steals. If you're playing anything with a pad or something that's got a long decay on it, the Prophet 5 note steals, and that's always was the problem with it. So if you want to play those big pads, Prophet 5 it note steals.
But sorry, Simon, you know the Prophet 10 that you've got, isn't that two Prophet 5s? Correct. Literally. So
it's not quite two Prophet 5s. It is, but you can layer them both together, so you can actually play two Prophet 5s together. You can alternate, so you can play one key on the upper keyboard. The next key you play on the upper keyboard will trigger the lower keyboard.
Voices,
You can stack them together. So it's clever. It's a little bit more clever than that. The polymod section's a little bit different as well, because on the Prophet 5, if you want to use modulation, you need to use the wheel. It's polymod. The modulation is done with the wheel, and it's not programmable on the original Prophet 5. I don't know if it is on the new one, but on the 10, it is programmable. It's a huge difference. And the 10's also got it's got a really cheesy EQ effect system on it as well, which is programmable. So there are differences, but yes, the voice boards are exactly the same.
Yeah. I wonder if like the new 10 has got like a dual. I don't know much about the new 10.
I think it's just a 10 voice Prophet 5. I think it's just
it doesn't, but a lot of people have requested that. Like, why not be able to split it into two 5s? One of the other things that so Cryss from Sequential, which is Pyn PYN on some of the forums, has hinted after many requests that new vintage knob, so it's not the same as the slop from the P6 and the OB6, which, just as I understand it, affects tuning, but the slop also affects the tightness of the calibration of the filters
and the envelopes.
And the envelopes. So that to me is a lot better implementation of that kind of feature than it is right now on the Prophet 6 an OB6, but they've hinted that they're working on firmware to update both the OB6 and P6 with that same kind of slop control, which would be a very nice upgrade to both of those synthesizers.
Yeah,
definitely.
Also, on the original Prophet 5, the glide, the portamento on it, you could only use it when you were in unison. On the new one, it's poly, which is another huge effect on it. So there are differences on it, but I think the big one, the 10 notes is the biggie, and turn it on and you're not praying, which is great.
This is true.
And it don't cost stupid amounts of money. Well, it's expensive, but not like the original. So
and you're not going to have to put into a lot of money into keeping it going, or a lot of work if you can do that thing.
If you open one up, or you've seen inside it, there ain't nothing to go wrong. The board's about that big in it. It's incredible.
No, I don't think it was any surprise that one has probably won our poll and many other polls across the community for being probably the
I didn't
most
vote
favourite.
for it, but
I tell you what, it is nice to see that up there with the likes of the Udo Super 6, which is new boys on the block. Modal's Cobalt 8, which I think represents one of the best value for money synthesizers this year.
Definitely.
And I was surprised at the Arturia Polybrute, which there was a big buzz around it, and then Dave Smith comes along and says, "Hey, look, everyone, look, I've got a new Prophet 5," and then everyone just kind of like, "Polybrute? Who? What?" And it kind of disappeared off there. But there have been some really nice synths, and they've been coming out, all throughout the year. Who knows if maybe next year we'll see the knock-on effect of people not being able to work as they would because of the pandemic situation. Maybe next year we'll see a slowdown. I don't know, but nowadays with remote working, most of this stuff, most of the new stuff, I guess, is done on a computer, the design, and then they just send them off to be manufactured. So who knows?
I think 2020 has been a better year for hardware than 19. I mean, forgive me if I can't remember everything that came out in 2019. I know that the Hydra Synth was the king of it, but it's been a pretty good year.
Yeah.
So I think
there's been no
fortunate.
trade shows apart from NAMM at the very beginning, which was the last thing. There's been no Super Booth. There's been no Synthfest. There's been nothing really. None of the stuff that we normally expect to see these things, premiered at, and people are just lumping them out as and when. It'd be interesting to see now if that trend sticks. Has the day of the trade show maybe gone now? Maybe we're realising that we don't need to have them. Maybe they're expensive, unnecessary, or whether they're just going to carry on being kind of corporate, jollies. Who knows?
I think the next ones that happen, particularly Synthfest, will be packed out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm from a personal point of view, I'm itching to go and do Synthfest and all the other ones that I can do. I mean, I was going to do Super Booth this year, and luckily, in a way, I just said, no, I don't think I can afford to do it this year. Nobody was going to sponsor me to go. So then, of course, this hit and it didn't really happen. So, yeah.
Going back to the Polybrute, Robert says it didn't help that the Polybrute has not been available as soon as the Prophet.
This is true.
I kind of also wonder if it has to do with the voice count as well, because that thing was just enormously capable with all the modulation, and then you only got 6 voices, and it feels like a 5-year-old synthesizer already. Like, we were already doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think they're possibly thinking about bringing out a Polybrute alternative with a two versions with like 6 and 12 voices?
Oh, I don't know, but it seemed very short-sighted that they would release something in 2020 with six voices. I mean, with the Prophet 5, I think that's ridiculous too, but a lot of people want that because of the original, at least, a Polybrute. Why would you just shoot for 6 voices? I mean, if you're wanting to have something that's a great sounding, analog poly in 2020, and sure, like the modulation will just kill an OB6 or a Prophet 6. But why would you try to match it on the voice count? Why not go for at least 8 voices, if not,
agree with you totally.
12? Yeah. Especially in that thing weighs as much as a Moog 1. They should have had at least 12 voices in there.
What surprises me is that when I got the Z1, I wasn't aware. I knew it was a 12-voice synth, which is pretty impressive for a physical modeler. But I wasn't aware that you could buy an extra board to get that up to 18.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and so
Right.
you can buy a board that gives you another 6 voices. Wow. Why can't that still be a thing? Why couldn't they build a polybrute and say, okay, here it is, base model, 6 voices. You want another 6? Here's a module. You just plug it in. Because that whole concept of daughter boards or plug-in boards was very late 90s, early noughties, and has just seemingly not been the thing anymore.
I can't think that an extra board to bring up an extra 6 voices in a polybrute is going to be horrendously expensive in terms of R&D, and perhaps that's why because they're not physically in the shops yet, are they? I don't know anyone that's got one. Maybe that's what they're going back and thinking, hey boys, you know what, perhaps we should have chucked in a few extra voices because it's not cheap. It's about $3,000, is it, something like that?
I've only seen one in the flesh, or not in the flesh, but in the wild, and that's Mark Doty, because he was sent one to do reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Other than that, I've not seen anyone.
The polybrute, I think, is being advertised for $2,500 American.
Right.
So it's not cheap.
No.
No.
For $2,500, I think you'd like a little bit more. But you're saying that Prophet 6 and Obi 6, they're sort of similar money, aren't they? And they're 6 voice, but different type of synth, I guess.
Okay, well, let's kind of maintain that theme, and let's talk about our choices for like standout gear of 2020. So, what, in your opinion, I know we've talked about the sequential Prophet 5/10, and the Udo and a couple of others. But let's kind of broaden that. Let's not just talk about synthesizers, hardware synthesizers, maybe software synthesizers, maybe tools, things, other things that aren't necessarily tone generating things, but help us in our studio. Has there been anything that's really stood out for you, Simon, this year that's made you go, wow, that was impressive?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Super 6 was for me the one that came out, and I just thought it's my type of synth because it's designed on the heritage of the early Rolands. It's got a lot of Juno 60 type of layout. It's got a lot of Jupiter 8. It's got a bit of Prophet 5, and the UI on it is simple. It's not menu driven. It's just what you see in front of you is what you get. That's the first thing about it, and then it just sounds phenomenal. It's ridiculously good. We go on about how good Ziv Elrav is, the Loopop.
Loopop, yeah.
Just watch what he does with a sine wave, and with about 4 movements, he's got this massive sound on it. It's incredible. I also like it because it's a fairly new company. I mean, George Hearn's been doing bits and pieces with Modal for a few years and stuff on his own. It's beautifully made. This is something that, for me, why I cringe at what Korg have done, and I don't mean to impugn their work, but their platform is shocking. When you get a company like Modal that bring out a really good synth for $500-600, $600, whatever, and it's made of something that's going to last, made of something that feels good.
It does, yeah, it really does.
For me, that really does make a lot of difference. So for me, the Super 6 was standout. Obviously, the Essence is good. I've always said I like the Hydra synth. I haven't got one purely because of, I don't know, I haven't got one. But every time I listen to a new video on YouTube, I just think, my God, this thing sounds incredible. And again, it's really well made.
Yeah.
For me, it's not just cosmetics. It's the platform it's on, and the sound. Software. I mean, crikey, we can. The software is just you know. It's where'd you go with it? I mean, there's so many good bits of software out there. And the Behringer stuff, again, from the other end of the market, I mean, they are doing some good work. I've always said I'm on the fence with Behringer, but the Cat, which Cryss has just got, I think is the best sounding one that I've heard. I just think, forget what it's trying to emulate, it really does sound good. And that if you want a synth that really does sound good for $200-300 or whatever it is, that's it. there's lots out. I mean, that Typhon, I think Cryss and I, we were talking about this on a different show. That was it Dreadbox Typhon? That sounds great as well.
Yeah,
there's some really good stuff coming out, and it's
Graham
very difficult
agrees
to
with you,
choose really what my definitive favourite is. But
yeah. So Graham agrees with you there in the chat. Dreadbox Typhon, and that seems to be getting a lot of plaudits around. Funny man, Sasquatch. Must be the Behringer Swing. Yeah, interesting that one. We shan't go there.
Stood up for all the wrong reasons. That one. Didn't
It did. It
Well,
did. Or
As
in
we'd
terms
say
of,
over here, a swing and a miss.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ben, any kind of real standout gear for you this year?
In the poll for the synthesizer thing, I went for the Prophet because that is, as far as I'm aware anyway, that is the first time that a manufacturer has actually revisited their own past and done something. We've seen Korg do it with the ARP stuff, but that wasn't them originally.
True.
We've seen Behringer do it with everyone. I can't remember anybody else actually revisiting the past catalogue and saying, right, we're going to make this again, which I think that's kind of like a landmark moment. And I think it's more the moment that's impressive, that, and like Si was saying earlier, it could prompt other manufacturers to do the same. Like maybe Roland could finally revisit the Jupiter 8 without turning it into a video game machine as well. And I was just thinking about the Hydra synth. I know it was kind of announced. I'm trying to remember this correctly now, but it was announced in 2019. But I think I was one of the first people to get one. Not like one of the first, but I was in the first batch, and that was after Christmas.
Okay.
So I think we might have only actually seen it over here in 2020. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean, just time has just...
Yeah.
It's no longer a thing, is it? I mean, I'm sat here, I keep thinking, this isn't Sunday, is it? Surely this is weird. It's even at that kind of small level, time just doesn't seem to be what it was anymore. But yeah, well, whatever. Cryss, standout piece of gear, software, hardware, tools, whatever.
Yeah. Well, start with hardware synthesizers. Very impressed with the Cobalt. They're hitting it on so many different levels. As Simon talked about, like the hardware it feels good. It feels like it's going to last.
Yeah.
And the sounds are good. I mean, the sound samples that you've played off of it, Robbie, have been fantastic. Easy to use. They offer it in 3 different sizes. I mean, everybody is happy about this because you got a desktop for the people saving space. You have the small form version, and then it doesn't cost you that much to get the full 5 octaves on it. And I think that's going to be one of my favorites. I voted for it on the poll. And the UDO Super 6 has a really lovely sound. I wish it had a screen for setting up modulations and for naming patches. If it had that, or possibly if they came out with an iPad app for it, I would really seriously think about that, because it does, the sound wise is phenomenal. And if you like old Roland synthesizers, again, as Simon was saying, like, this is what Roland should be doing. We've seen it, and thinking of somebody out there, George Hearn is doing it. I can't wait to see what else that they do. I've been very impressed with that. So I guess we'll see. I mean, that could possibly be something in my future, but again, it depends on if I'm going to be able to have some sort of screen to name patches and do modulations and that kind of stuff. And the Cat was, I think, released, I think they did the teaser video December 31st, 2019. Right. So I think it actually made it out in 2020.
Yeah.
And it's really cool sounding. I've got the Model D back in my, Waldorf. Mm-hmm. And that's been really great. In fact, if that hadn't come out, I wouldn't have bought a Moog 1. So, I mean, there is two enemies, helping each other out. But the cat sounds really good. In fact, if the police aren't around here, I'll just say I like the sound of it better than the original cat. It does have an amazing sound to it. But for software's been that's really been my year. I bought, so I said until a couple of weeks ago, I hadn't bought any synthesizers this year. I did buy, I'm backwards here, I did buy the Rickenbacker 4003S, which really been enjoying using that. But for software, that's where I've spent money this year, is grabbing different things that I wanted or interesting stuff. Been really happy that Amplitude 5 has come out. That's a very useful tool for me. And I'm trying to think what some of the synthesizers that I've bought. I've bought quite a few. But recently the Arturia collection, I hadn't upgraded in several years. I was still on collection 6. And this new collection has done really well. And in fact, the Jupiter, which is, not a new synthesizer as far as their advertising. They've redone it, but it is a new from the ground up. And that's been amazing sounding. They're free, Cryss, which we'll talk about later, I guess. I've been starting to use that on a lot of tracks. So I could spend a couple hours just talking about the software that's come out this year. It's been a really, really good year for software.
Been some great pedals as well, hasn't there, Cryss? I mean, with the Strymon stuff coming out, and there has been some good hardware pedals. I think it's been a really good year.
So one of my favourite highlights of this year has been this, which is Spitfire Audio's BBC Symphony Orchestra. Not just because it's an exceptionally good sample library, but because of the whole concept behind it. The fact that they've brought out 3 versions of it, one of which can be free, or is only, if you want it immediately, it's 49 quid. If you're happy to answer a few questions and wait a couple of weeks, it's free. And there's, again, it's a bit like the modal approach. There's a BBC SO for everyone, just like there is a Cobalt 8 for everyone, and there's an Argon 8 for everyone. And, when I gave this free version to my son, and said, here you go. And he's like, wow, this is amazing, because it really is, it doesn't have all the, the huge amounts of detail and depth that the core and the pro versions have, but it's still good enough. It's still the same, a lot of the same samples, and it sounds amazing. And the fact that, it's an onboarding thing. So I thought that was really exceptional this year, that whole BBC SO package. We've talked about modal. I think we're all in agreement there, and that and the Prophet 5 and the Polybrute have all been really exceptional. And I'm going to say it, and I know that if anybody was playing PSM Bingo, this will get you one off the list. But the whole WIDI Master thing for me has been a real revelation, because so many people were like, oh, Bluetooth MIDI is horrible, the latency is going to be terrible, why are they even bothering, it's rubbish, without even trying it. And it works, and it works brilliantly, and it works faultlessly, and it's enabled me to do stuff here and there that would have just been a real pain in the backside to have to wire these into MIDI hubs that I've got in various parts of the room. I can just plug one of these things in, turn it on, boom, there it is, and I can start using it. And I used it professionally and in a private sense as well. So it's just a stunning little piece of extra goodness in the studio. I can't wait to get the WIDI jacks, which are shipping hopefully early part of next year, so that I can do all the little stuff as well, the stuff that doesn't have the powered USB. It's been a real revelation, that one, and stupidly cheap, because I've just seen that on Amazon you can pick them up for 45 quid, which is less than what CME are selling them for direct, and you don't have to pay any of the import duties. So it's that for me has been one of the cute little hardware revelations this year. So that's kind of standout gear. Let's just have a quick look at. I've tried to keep up with the chat room, but has anybody seen anything in there? Anybody else got any?
I got rightly corrected for saying that like Sequential were the first to revitalise one of their old product line. But Korg had done it with the MS, hadn't it?
It's true.
And the Mini Moog as well.
Moog had done it as well,
Yeah.
so I don't know what I completely forgot about those.
Yeah. Well, you're forgiven. I mean, you're old, and but yeah,
See,
I mean,
we've been waiting to call you Grandpa Simpson.
Grandpa Simpson.
In my day, you used to wear an onion on your belt.
In 1988.
Yeah. I'd also like to just take this opportunity to tell our viewers that if you haven't already, please do come and join us on our Facebook page. So just search for Pro Synth Network on Facebook. Answer a few questions. If you invite anyone, I'm just going to repeat this because we've got a few people sitting in the queue that have been invited. They've not answered any of the very easy membership questions just to prove that they're human and they're not going to be a dick. So please, make sure that you tell them that when you invite them. Also, if you would like to donate to us, and I do believe we've just received a donation. I'm just going to try and see who we can thank for that one. John Simpson, thank you very much for your donation. Much appreciated.
Our John,
yeah. So there's the address. It's also in the description below the video here on YouTube. But that's the link there if you want to donate to us. Let's talk about. Let's do this one. What, in your opinion, crashed and burned this year in terms of things that we were expecting to happen that didn't happen, things that we were expecting to happen that didn't happen quite the way we hoped they would happen. I'll kick this one off and say everything. No, Superbooth and Synthfest and the shows. They all crashed and burned after NAMM. Everything crashed and burned. Is that a good thing? Did we miss them? Are we going to look forward to going back to them next year? What do you think?
I think there's something to be taken from it. I think that the level that especially Synthfest, the way they us getting the opportunity to be involved in making that show as part of it. I think that should carry on. Don't just forget all that now that you can have the physical show on. I think have a combination of it all.
Yeah, maybe a blend. This kind of blend of an online and in-person thing.
Yeah.
Simon, anything that
I didn't get a pay rise this year. That crashed and burned.
Yeah. Join the club, mate. Join the club.
So many things crashed really, in terms of shows and that. But we've. I think it's because of shows like this that we can still chat about it. We can still discuss it. It's been a very good second best as sort of seeing and touching stuff at a show. I think, as I said earlier on, I think when the shows start up again, it's just going to be everyone wants to go to it.
Yeah.
And the computer show thing, you haven't mentioned that, Rob. Are you going to be doing that again in Cambridge if they do it again?
I mean, I think the invite still stands. So hopefully.
Because you've got more of a Fairlight show there than you have in the last 2 years.
This is true. But this year, or shall I say next year, I think the focus. I'm going to shift the focus, but we'll see. But yeah, synthesized, which happens at the Cambridge Computer Museum, or the Museum of Computing History, I think, to give it its full name.
The one thing that hasn't come out, and I'm still really eager to see it, is the UDXA, or UBXA.
UBXA,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wait, we just got visions of UDO making an Oberheim style synthesizer.
Yes.
I was like,
Bombshell.
Yeah. Or someone having the gonads come up with a CS80. That's the one I really want to see. But again, it's we get little snippets of. I mean, let's be honest. Behringer have been very busy.
Yeah, going back to that UBXA thing just for a second, there was a video that popped up, and I'm not sure which product it was for. It was for a Behringer product, but I'm not sure which one. But in the associated companies, there was a screenshot of all the Midas and Clark Technic and all that. And Oberheim was one of the companies that were mentioned in the thing.
Yeah.
Now, that's a pretty significant event, that, and I don't know why it's not been made more of. What's behind that?
Well, I think the bottom line is with any of these is the fact that if the trademark has expired, or you know, whatever it's, you know, whether it's copyright or whatever, it's fair game for anyone. Anyone can buy it. It's just that Behringer have probably gone sniffing around, hoovering these things up as and when they come free. Whether they do anything with it, I don't know.
Yeah, it was only in certain, I think it was maybe the UK and I don't know where else, that they had got that name.
Right.
Gibson, of course, owned it. They gave it back to Tom, but they had let it, as I understand it, had let it lapse or something. So in some places, I believe Tom owns the name or owns some variation of that name, whereas Music Tribe owns it in some other places.
But doesn't that mean it's possible for the UBXA to actually be branded as an Oberheim device in certain countries?
But only if they sell it in the certain countries where they own that right. And of course, when you buy the rights to a name, you're not just buying the rights to the name, but you're buying the rights to the name to be used in certain things. So, you know, if you were to use the name in making a pair of sneakers, doesn't matter, Oberheim sneakers, you know, that's not a thing. But if you're going to use it into making synthesizers, then that does have, you know, repercussions, I guess. Yeah. I don't understand the minutiae of copyright law as well as Uli Behringer seems to think he does.
They're getting better at this. I mean, Ranz put on a thing on YouTube the other day, or was it on Facebook? I can't remember now. And he's got the 2500 modules, and they look incredible.
Yeah, he was playing around with them yesterday on his show. Yeah,
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's a strange omission because we heard about it. Well, it must be well over a year ago now, and every now and then, you know, we hear a little snippet on how it's going on. So it can't be as easy as we think it can be to just sort of put a box together and knock one out that sort of says, you know, this sounds like an Oberheim.
Well, I think Behringer have probably made a rod for their own backs, and probably in a good way, in that they've done some pretty good work with what they've done so far. If you're going to bung out something that claims to be an Oberheim clone, you've got to make sure that it's damn well good. Because if it isn't, then they will just it'll turn on them very, very quickly.
So something I mentioned before that I think is where they're largely at or have been this year is that they've been reorganizing and trying to get their firmware process down, which has seemed to be the thing that is holding them up and where they've had the most problems. You know,
Where's that RD9?
Yeah, and that's a big thing because there was some hardware that exists. It's they've had some problems with the RD8 firmware, which they've now come out with several updates. The CAT has when it gets to you, it has low note priority, which is awful in my opinion. So, but the workaround for it is I have to put it in polychain mode and mono, and then set the voice to last, which is like a workaround. It works, but things like that they have mentioned, that they're trying to consolidate that process of making their firmware a little more uniform for all their different products. And I think that's pretty much where it is right now for them. They got to get this right, because if they come out with something again that has got so many problems as the RD8 had when it was launched, it's going to hurt them a lot. So it behooves them to get this firmware right. I mean, you know, I know Wagyu likes to make fun of the Moog 1. And the Moog 1, and there's some reasons, some things that he said that I would absolutely 100% agree. Now, the thing is that its raw sound is fantastically good, but you'd never hear any of the presets. The firmware has been so out of whack, and it had so many problems, and they're redoing stuff, and now it's really slowed down. It's a problem. It is a problem. I have got a bunch of presets for it that I want to release. But I can't yet because every firmware release that they do radically changes it. Now, the beauty of the platform is that they can do that, and I'm glad that it is like that, because, I mean, when you get a sequential synthesizer, like it's pretty much done. Like there's not going to be anything added to it. They might fix something, but most of the time, at least for the ones that I've owned, like it's done. And I do like the fact that there can be changes, but we would like to see those changes as minor bug fix and added features, and they have done a lot of added features to this. but it's caused Moog a lot of problems. And so again, with these companies, if they can get things together, not tease it as long as UDO had teased that. I mean, when did the first teases happen for the Super 6?
Yeah.
I mean, that was several years ago. So
yeah, it's been a while now.
Yeah, I think it would be good. I'm enjoying when companies come out and it's ready, it's a done thing, and also they have stock ready to go that's on its way to the stores. And I think Sequential did a better job at that with the Prophet, the new Prophets, the Rev 4. It's like there's already a whole bunch of people that want to have them, and you go through the frustrations of you're trying to find one, you can't find one. It's either going to be late to Europe or the U.S. One of us is going to get screwed on it. And then you get it, and it's super buggy, and you're having issues with it, and you're waiting for the company. Versus, them just waiting and waiting and waiting. Like, okay, here's the product. It's perfect, and it's available for purchase right now. We've just announced it. There's been the flood of videos. Go buy it. I hope 2020 has taught us that, at least for synth manufacturers.
Yeah.
It would be nice to be able to go and get something when you're excited about it, instead of waiting like 2 or 3 years for it to finally get
I don't understand why they do that. And testament to Dave Smith, he has all his stuff made in America. It's not knocked out in China, which is incredible.
Definitely.
I think the biggest upheaval
assembled in America. I would say because everybody is going to be. I mean, probably the Moog 1 boards are also like all these surface-mounted boards are usually being made in Asia. Wow. Now it's all hand assembled in the United States. And I think Sequential would be the same way, where they fit and finish, putting everything together. But that made in America versus assembled in America is kind of a big difference.
Yeah, but I mean, whoever's making them assembled, they're knocking them out the door very quickly.
Well, sorry. So Native ES says DSI stuff. Well, he says all the boards are made in the Bay Area for them. Okay.
I thought that was Dave Smith said that were made in San Francisco. So either way, I mean, he announced it and they're out there. Bang.
Next day,
which is great. And to be fair to Modal as well, they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Of saying, this is released and you can get them a couple of weeks. Can't be easy, but I agree. It really frustrates me when a company says, here it is, and you've got to wait. We're all very impatient in this industry. Yeah. Whether it's a hobby, whether it's a profession, we want. If we see it, we want it. Yeah, we're very impatient, and very true. Yeah.
So I can't remember who put these on. We had a little list going in the background here. So let's not forget one of the biggest furores from the earlier part of this year, which was Spitfire Audio's Westworld scoring competition, which came in for huge amounts of flack. That was a big kind of own goal in many respects. I don't want to dwell on it too much, but boy, did they mess that up.
I'll tell you something though. When Ben DivKid came round mine the other day, we was talking about that, and we said that now the dust kind of settled on it all. Maybe that one did deserve to win after all. Yeah. I was on about my own particular attempt at it, and it was just like soundtrack by numbers. Mine was like sequence based, big percussive things, synths, and there was nothing new there at all. And the one that won might not have been to everybody's taste, and I think we said at the time, but it was highly creative. Yeah. So
it stood out.
I don't think they'll rush out to do that again.
No,
I don't think the problem was, though. At the end of the day, it wasn't really with the actual music that won, or that the guy that made that music seemed like a really cool guy. I think it was how they handled it, particularly Christian Henson. That seemed to be that like a salty old sea dog or whatever it was video. That was a thing that really put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Yeah. It
was like, really? This is how you want to react to this? I mean, it's okay if it's not our choice, or perhaps it takes a little, they had professionals judging this, but the hurt feelings over it, especially a lot of people saying like, well, they didn't even listen to my my track, or they didn't give it any sort of consideration.
I think
that-
Natives would have won it. His is a lot better, what we heard earlier on, than the thing that
Yeah.
won on
Yeah.
that. And you're like, God.
I think if anything, people learn the lesson in sometimes it's best to just say nothing and
Yeah.
just let these things fizzle out of their own accord. But you know, it was an experience, and I think you know they took the heat for it, and you know a lot of people got really pissed, and you know in some cases they had some justifications. In others, you know, there was a lot of sour grapes, you know, because people just didn't like what they did. But the guys that were judging this were pretty much experts in their field. You know, J.J. Abrams. You know, you can't. You know, he knows how to put a film together. You know, from the storyboards to the script to the soundtrack, he knows how to put a film together. So, but that was interesting, and I think this was probably Ben's suggestion here. Things that were supposed to happen but didn't. You're still waiting for your Poly Aftertouch controller.
Yeah, definitely, because it can be MPE, but it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be like along the rolly kind of thing. Just to offer the hydrosynth level
There you
of MPE,
There you go.
where you've got a ribbon maybe and some Poly Aftertouch. I think it's a great thing.
Oh, I know a bit of software that crashed and burned. That thing where you could, as we're doing now, you know, stream a bit of music to the other side of the world, and the latency on it was about half an hour later, wasn't it?
I'm still staggered that there are people that
try.
try to do this. I'm still staggered that after so many people have tried and failed over the last 20 years to deliver, you know, zero latency, internet connected jamming and work. It just doesn't work. It really, really doesn't.
Yeah.
The guy was so serious trying to sell this bit of software, going, it will work. Bing.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
like half
Yeah,
an hour delay and thinking, are you serious? You know, come on.
Well, I mean, look, the latency, the raw latency, as I understand it, between, say, where I'm at and where either of you guys are at, is about 150 milliseconds. So maybe between you guys could make that work, but me jamming with you
Exactly.
isn't going to work at 150 milliseconds.
No. I mean, the fact that there are still studios out there that still use ISDN lines and still, you know, that they'll use those rather than any kind of modern day internet protocol, you know, just goes to show that I think, you know, it's a way off. I'm not saying it won't happen. It's because you'll never get rid of latency at all, but will you get it down to a level that is workable? As Marshall says in the chat room, you cannot deny the laws of physics. Latency is inevitable. It's just getting it down
absolutely.
to those, you know, and I'm going to say it again, WIDI, Bluetooth MIDI, everyone's saying, oh, latency, latency, latency. But they managed to get it down to a level where it is imperceivable. It's there, obviously, but it's imperceivable and it's usable, you know, so there you go. So that's kind of things that happened or didn't happen. And, you know, I think, you know, the age of the trade show has changed. I don't think it's going to go away. That's the one that I kind of think that will change substantially, but yeah, I think there's going to be a big rush to the doors, and that can only be a good thing. And credit to everyone, you know, the guys at Synthfest UK, the guys at Super Booth, and the Italian guys who did what's the name of that thing? I can never remember it, but they did. You know, it's their kind of Synthfest, and Imsterfest have been doing things, and they've really, you know, pulled the plug out and done this online thing, and it works, and it's not been the same, but it's been useful. Okay, so let's do one more of these, and we'll turn that banner off, and we're going to talk about the highs and the lows of 2020 on a personal level. So what have been your highs and lows in music technology this year? Let's start off with Cryss on this one.
Wait, the highs and lows of what?
The highs and lows in your personal world in music technology, you know.
I'm trying to think of what the... Wait, come back to me. I need to think about that a little bit.
Ben.
I think for me, one of the big developments of this year has been discovering through basically watching nothing else but YouTube since we put us into lockdown. I've discovered that you end up like really going in depth in different avenues, don't you? You end up learning all about sprouts for some reason. You had no interest in it, but then you know everything about sprouts. Well, I got down this rabbit hole of Mac upgrades, and I discovered that my old Mac Pro that was a year older than the iMac I was using for all my music stuff. The old Mac Pro had the potential to be more powerful than the iMac. So, obviously, several £1,000s later spent. I do have a Mac Pro that is pretty good now. I had to replace the graphics card, the processor, and added additional memory, but it's superb, and that's what prompted me to get that monitor. And that's just, for me, has just opened everything up. And I did consider selling one of my V-Synths, and through resetting all this up, I've got the V-Synth XT was the one I was thinking about selling. I've got that patched in perfectly now, created my own patch name script for it, and it's kind of reignited what I thought was good about it in the first place, and I don't want to get rid of it. Somebody offered me a trade for a Matrix Brute, and I think I'm going to back out of that. If you're in the chat room, I apologise. I don't think I'm going to be doing that in the new year now. It's too good. It's too good.
Corrosive Bear in the chat room says that their personal high was going back to all hardware and no computer, and that's certainly been a big trend. I think it's not certainly one that I would subscribe to, but I think a lot of people have ditched computers in favour of just going for the all-out hardware and using that. And there's so much choice now, to be able to do that. You're so much more able to do that than you were maybe a few years ago.
I was definitely more productive before I started using computers. I don't know whether that's because you've got built-in distractions. There you can just quickly. It's pretty hard to flip to Facebook on a QX, isn't it? You can't.
And I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's not that computers are the problem. It's the fact that we do so much on them that can be distracted. That is not music related. And I see a lot of people who say I have a computer that's just for everything, and then I have my music system, and that's not even connected to the internet. And it doesn't have anything installed that could distract me. And I think that's a very good thing. If you can afford to run that, then that's great. And I think nowadays it's pretty affordable to do. You can buy a Raspberry Pi and use that as your browsing social media stuff, and then leave your main computer elsewhere. Chris, did you manage to think of one yet, or shall we go to Simon?
So I was trying to think about lows, and
He's always on such a downer.
I was trying to think of like something that was like seriously a bummer, and I don't really have much to speak of in terms of lows. And it's been an interesting year. One low, not playing live anymore. Now, several years ago, I radically cut back. I mean, radically from doing gigs. And so I was already kind of had made that change, but the few gigs that I had, I had left, have dried up, and friends that I was involved with those projects we haven't been able to see because of COVID. So we're looking forward to getting back together and doing more stuff and having some fun. But of the good things, I've got 3 things that I'll share. My recording. And I'm kind of the opposite, like spending a lot more time with Logic in the computer, plugins, has been wonderful. It's made me far more productive, being focused, having a setup that is conducive to recording. I upgraded my monitors, I've done some other little tweaks and move stuff around so that it's easier to get into the groove of recording and get stuff set up and get going. And then further, like integrating both software and hardware together. I mean, I've been doing it with hardware guitars for a long time, but synthesizers, I've been like trying to find my groove and like, okay, let's make this easy, but having a bigger interface where stuff's already plugged in, I don't have to monkey with things and connections and MIDI cables, just having it set up has really helped. And then, releasing patches with Synthient Sound. I've only done 2 this year, but next year we'll be doing quite a bit more. So that's been wonderful and having fun with that. And probably the greatest, high of 2020 is just the friends. There's some of you guys that I've known for a while. Aaron and Marshall and Jamie are among some of the first people that I really met online with synthesizers. And spend time with those guys has been just wonderful. And then I don't remember how long I've been hanging out with you guys. I know I joined Synth Network in October 2019, I think just after it began. And then when I came on as with you guys as one of the administrators, that's been fun. I mean, Robbie and Ben, you guys are some of the people I talk to the most during the week. I mean, we're always chatting about new gear and this stuff and that stuff. And thankfully, Synth Network, the Facebook group is such an easygoing place. We don't have too much drama. And so we can just go and discuss gear without a lot of that. So it means that we don't have to spend a lot of time kicking people out or reprimanding them or anything. It's a really nice and easy thing that we spend more time talking about gear and having fun. And then with us doing the show to be able to talk, as much as we can face to face here, and with Simon and everybody else that we've had on the show. I mean, over the last year, I think about all the wonderful guests that we've had. We've got a whole big list of them now that we're keeping track of and we're adding, and some of the people that are coming up are really cool people. Everybody that I've gotten to know in the chat room, and I think about where everybody has come from and how globally encompassed, that we are. I mean, Ranz out the way in Australia, there's a lot of people in Europe, Britain, United States. And it's been great. I would have never known you guys, and that's really enriched my life. I think
I'm welling up.
And it is true because
I
I just think about my friendships that I have now with everybody, and the friendship part of it is the most important. But then to add the bonus of the music that everybody is making, the cool stuff that I've been exposed to. That I think almost every album that I bought in 2020 is from somebody that I know, including multiple people in the chat room. And so I feel very grateful for that. This whole experience in the community, I know that's what Ben had originally had in mind. It's like, let's just bring people together without all the drama. And it's truly been a good and successful venture on it, and I'm very grateful.
Yeah, very sure. Well, to counter all that, Mickey D in Ireland. Mickey's a long friend of mine. We've worked together. His high point was getting a shed. And do you know what? Look, here it is. Here it is. There's Mickey's shed.
Yeah.
Which he's been banging on about for bloody ages. Every time I call, speak to him, I haven't got me shed yet. I haven't got me shed yet. That's a terrible Irish accent, and
I was going to say,
nothing.
Is he Welsh?
No, very funny. But he's finally got his shed, which is now in his backyard, and he's got big plans for that to be his kind of main. He's got it's all wired up, and it's going to be insulated and damp proofed, and he's going to it's going to be his studio. So there you go. Mickey has got his shed. Hallelujah. That's his high point. Yeah. Simon, any particular highs or lows for you this year in the music technology world?
No, there's lots of highs, but I think for all of us, everyone, we're so lucky to have a hobby that we can switch off from this horrible year we've had, the horrible news of people that are ill and suffering, and we can go in to our own little man caves, Mickey's shed, my synth cave, whatever, and just get back to our own world. That we you know, it's a wonderful to sit here in your own environment and make music. We're very spoiled because we're spoiled with some of the most incredible talented people that give us this wonderful software, these wonderful instruments to play with. And you know, going back 30 or 40 years ago, none of this was available. You know, you wouldn't have your own digital recording studio in your house now. So I'm incredibly grateful for that, because for me it really is I shut that door and my mind is now relaxed. I'm in an environment where I'm happy and I can relate to what I'm doing. It's a wonderful therapy, it really is. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Highs for me, you can't see it because of the camera. I mean, again, what Cryss has said, I've changed my audio system quite considerably. So I've got these beautiful focal speakers now, which have changed. It's just, bearing in mind, I'm getting on a little bit now. It's like clarity to my ears. It's like, wow, I didn't know it sounded like that. So that's been absolutely wonderful. Another big high is my 18-year-old son has seen what I've done, and on his own merit has gone out and bought his own Macintosh, and he's writing music now.
Wow, nice.
And for me, you know what? I'm so proud of him for doing that, because you know, it's. I wish, you know, I'd got into it earlier. I really do. So lots of highs there. I mean, we've, you know, the kit that has come out is coming out. It's been wonderful. Like you, Cryss, and all of us, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits that you know, you guys invite me on the show. I'm not one of these people that put stuff on YouTube, but I love talking about it. And sometimes I think, you know, I'm a bit of an old fart that waffles on, but there's a lot of stories I've got. I love telling old stories, and I love hearing new stories. And some of the biggest highs for me are listening to a lot of the guys in the chat room that I've met as well, and listening to their stuff that they put up. Completely different to mine. You know, when Inky puts stuff up with these little boxes that light up and comes up with all these crazy sounds and beats, and it mesmerises me. I love it. And also, you know, my type of music, again, you know, the thing that Native did, beautiful. I can listen to that all day long. And it gives me, I sort of bounce off of these ideas, so that's brilliant for me.
Yeah.
The lows with the gear, I mean, we've had two major updates this year. I hate big Apple updates. I'm an Apple user. I hate big updates because when Logic update, then you have to think, great update, I've got to learn it. Now what doesn't work? And then everything's playing catch up. It frustrates me to hell. You know, we can't put in Big Sur now because UAD won't work. Half my stuff will just collapse. So that frustrates me.
Yeah.
But you know, you put up with it. I've got for this year, for me, I've got a lot more into the software, using Logic, and again, you know, trying to sort of catch up, because there's some people out there that run rings around me, and I look at what they do on YouTube, and crikey, you know, they're clever people. So, but yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. I'm really happy that we've got this wonderful technology, and things can only get better. They've got to only get better in this world, and thank God we've got each other to chat about this, contribute to all this, and I mean, Ben, you started this off brilliant. What a brilliant idea! You know, it's grown to something huge. You know, Robbie, I think you're absolutely fantastic at you know, running the show and all the stuff you do, the podcast, and we're great mates as well. So yeah, I'm really grateful. I've thoroughly enjoyed this year, and I'll tell you what, if this side of my life wasn't around, I think I would be very different in personality. I really do mean that. So I'm very grateful to everyone, and everyone in the chat room as well that said nice comments. I'm really very flattered, because a lot of them never heard of me before, don't know anything about me, and they've just been nothing but very flattering. So thank you very much, and
Yeah, I agree. I think the community. I think we all kind of, if we didn't already know each other, we maybe knew of each other. You know, we might have seen the names bandying around. But certainly this year, because of the situation that we found ourselves in, pretty much all around the world, we've come together and we've kind of gelled, and we now know each other more, not intimately, but you know, we speak to each other, we see each other in all these different places. We have online relationships, and I don't mean that in any other than just friendships. You know, with these people that are just more connected now than they ever were. I was just trying to think of. I mean, there's kind of three things in my world that have. I mean, the lowlights. Yeah, no live music. I don't play live. Haven't played live for many years, but I've not been able to go and see live music, and that's been a real pain in the arse. I mean, I watched The Darkness. So every Christmas, The Darkness do a small tour around the UK, and they always end up back here in East Anglia, which is where they're from. And it's the Christmas gig, and we just go and we have a great laugh. And I know the sound guy, so I always get to stand in the in the front of house area, so I get the best view and the best sound. Mm-hmm. And just could not do that this year. But bless them, you know, they did an online gig at the Indigo 2 in London. They planned to have a few people there, but then, you know, the tier restrictions put pay to that. So it was all online, and we all sat at home. The fire was going. We had a glass of wine. The stereo was pumping up. It was good fun, but at the same time, it was like, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And so I've really missed, you know, going to live. And I did have an idea about playing live, that I did kind of hope that this year might be the year I maybe test the waters, but that's just gone. I've not even thought about that for months. But one of the highlights for me is launching this thing. And, you know, I say for me, you know, we launched this together, but doing this, it was like, you know, COVID hit. We've got this group that had been going, 4 or 5 months maybe, you know, 6 tops. Mm-hmm. And what can we do that's going to, you know, help people through? And, you know, this was the result. And we started off and we did, I forget how many weeks, probably 30 of our 38 weeks was done with open source software, and we had all sorts of issues, delays, latency, lagging, connection issues. It was that we didn't have show titles, we didn't have, you know, fancy graphics running across the bottom of the screen. We couldn't have 4 people up like this and all being, you know, in synchronization. But we did it. We got some really fantastic support from, you know, these people that we've got in the chat room, and a whole bunch of other people. You know, I mean, people like, you know, Aaron. I mean, I know he doesn't have to say this, and we're not paying him to say this, but we've been here 38 weeks. We're his favourite synth show, which is just really, really nice. You know, and it's very rewarding.
I said that about the t-shirts, didn't I? I said if you were going to go to the Pro Synth Network, tell Ben to get some Pro Synth Network.
We'll have to do something.
Yeah, no, you should. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's a religion on a Sunday. You know, the shows. You know, there's Jamie, there's this, and I, for one, you know, I don't do an awful lot on Sundays, but I do this now, and it's great, and you see the same names that are so loyal in the chat room, and it's lovely to speak to them, and they're all constructive. You know, very rare have I seen, I can't remember the last comment that anyone's ever put, I thought, well, that's ridiculous, you know, other than a joke. It's all been constructive, so, yeah, is it a cult? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
But it is, I mean, it's been so rewarding to do, because, I mean, I think that Ben, Chris and I, you know, I don't want to speak for those guys, but I think that even if we only had 5 people watching, we'd probably still do it, because it's Sunday evening, and, you know, what else are we going to do? There's bugger all on TV. You know, nowadays it's all repeats or socially distant shows.
Rob, how long have we been doing? You guys been doing now? Is it 6 months, 7 months?
Since this is March, end of March.
Yeah.
So that's how long it's taken for Rob to start the resurgence of FM.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, in that period of time, the FM synthesizer has, and it has.
Yeah.
We've seen prices on eBay now that have gone up because of Rob Puricelli.
Yeah.
His FM.
You're definitely partly responsible
what can I say?
for that. Yeah.
What can I say? It's an accusation I've had levelled at me on a number of occasions. Maybe I've had a little hand in it. I don't know.
I don't see a Yamaha DX7 T-shirt anywhere though, Rob.
No, I think the DX5 and the DX1 are in the wash, so it's an emulator today. I haven't actually got a DX7 T-shirt, so maybe that's...
You got a Mark II there behind you, chap.
I have, yes. I know.
Hey, also, I forgot, Andrew asked what your synth is that's standing up in the back.
This thing. Oh,
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
Which one?
That one there. That's
That one there.
Yeah, that's a Yamaha CE25, which is pre-DX. So it's FM synthesis, 4-operator. They did the GS1 and the GS2, which were the big fancy ones, and then they did these small ones. And that chassis was used in early Portatones in the late 70s, early 80s. It's the same kind of chassis, but they've just redone it. It's all presets, but it's got a wonderful thing. I was going to try and have it linked up tonight, but it's I had the Cobalt up here and I didn't have time. But it's got some wonderful like symphonic chorus modes, and it's got aftertouch, and it's velocity sensitive, and you can control the amount of velocity sensitivity and aftertouch and how it affects the sound. It's for a machine that's pre-MIDI and pre-DX, it's stunning.
And yours was a Juno 60, wasn't it, Si? Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
Is yours a Juno 60 that's
at the
propped
back.
up at the back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get the binoculars out, mate.
Yeah, yes, it is. Who asked that? Yeah, it's a Juno 60. Yeah.
So after all this talk of cult and religion, I'll share what I'm drinking today.
Very
which
nice.
is Lost Abbey,
Ooh.
10 Commandments Ale, Farmhouse Ale with Britannomyces from with Britannomyces with my Lost Abbey chalice.
Very
What
nice.
percentage is that then?
This is about 10.
10. Yeah, I had a can of stout last night that was 13.5%.
Wow.
It's like drinking a bottle of wine.
Yeah, I've got some there's a brewery in Southern California. Well, this is a Southern California brewery, but there's another one called The Brewery, BRUERY, that I've got a bunch of their stuff, and it goes up to like 20%. Got one sitting on the shelf back there.
20%.
20% beer.
Yeah.
I went to a bar in Iceland once. We're doing some work, and we had a Finnish representative out there that covered that region, and he'd flown over from Helsinki, and he said, "I'm going to take you to this bar. I'll tell you now that the glasses are small, but they're small for a reason, and the beer, they brewed it all themselves, and just small little glasses like this. But my God, that stuff was dark, thick, and it had some kick to it. But yeah, lovely.
Here's a
lovely
question
stuff.
for everyone in the chat room. Okay, so one bit of kit that the fireman says you can save. Just hypothetically, if you had to take one piece of kit out your studio, what would it be?
There you go. So there you go, chat room. One piece of kit.
One bit of kit that you could save. What would it be?
That you could save from a massive fire. What would it be? Put your answer in the chat room. I'll just do the couple of other things that have been real highlights for me this year. First of all, Sound on Sound podcasts. Yeah, I know I'm plugging it, but it was an opportunity that wasn't there, and then all of a sudden at the end of 2019 it appeared, and it's just been an absolute joy to do, and I've met some fantastic people, had some great conversations, and next year is going to be even better because we've already got like 4 or 5 guests lined up for the podcast next year. And then finally, of course, the Songbird soundtrack for the movie, which just would not have happened had it not been for the pandemic, which is just bizarre, that something really cool and satisfying happened because of the pandemic, not in spite of it, but because of it. And that was really an incredible experience. And as I mentioned at the time, when they put my name in the credits at the end of the movie, they spelt my bloody name wrong. They got one letter wrong, and I was forever known as Rob Puricelli, which some people have made some very funny jokes about, spicing up my name, ha ha ha. But I noticed the other day at the end of Wonder Woman 84, which I haven't seen, but this fact has been widely spread around certain places, that they spelt Gary Newman Newman. So it happens to the best of them. So yeah, there you go. And Lorne Balfe, who's the composer for the Songbird movie, who got me into all of this, he was referred to in one of the Hollywood movie kind of newsletter things as Lorna Balfe. So not only got his name wrong, they misgendered him as well. So there you go. So they're my kind of 3 things. And yeah, I mean, the downside is this horrible, shitty situation that's just seen me sit here and vegetate and put on weight and feel ill. But hey, we'll get through it, and we'll hopefully turn the corner soon.
And you're top of the championship, mate. So stop.
And my team is top of the championship in spite of being beat by his lot last night 1-0, which was kind of I expected that, because we never do well at your place. So there we go. Right, so let's see what the one piece of gear that you would save. Let's go through. So this is going to test my skills. So Corrosive Abuser says his MP60. Is that Mark II? Yeah.
Yeah.
MP60 Mark II. Imperfect.
Andy
Aaron
Brooks said that as well. Andy Brooks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think he's got an MPC one now, hasn't he? So, Aaron says his hard disk drive. Well, yeah. I mean, nowadays that's a reasonable thing. And Paul Artola says his door. So does Pat Brady. He says my computer. Atto Z. This one will put a smile on Chris's face. His Gibson Les Paul R8. Sam Lowry says his Bowen Solaris. Native VS says his computer. Andy Brooks says his MPC one, which I know he's only recently got and is falling quite deeply in love with that thing, by all accounts. Insurance buys all my new setup, says Paul, which is very true, which is why we all have it. Well, you should have it anyway. Synth Addict says his Kawai SX240. Jupiter Boy 74, all my hard drives and memory sticks. This is very good. Wagyu. So for synth stuff, Solaris, I think. The rest is mostly replaceable, although Arturia Origin, Technics WSA 1R, I'd still like one of those. VG Line and a few others aren't too common. I think by the time you've kind of made that decision there, you're dead. You're toast. You've been burnt alive. But yeah, so one of those things. But for gear in general, he's going on. He's not really got the concept. Yeah, his 1917 Gibson Stylo guitar.
I might leave this little controller keyboard. I don't know. It's all coming with him.
Neil Loughran says Fender Rhodes. Yeah, I mean, God help you getting that out of there in a fire. But yes, very, very good. Asio Head says, yeah, boring, but my hard drives. Sasquatch says his Kurzweil K2600.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, Tempo Roboto.
Mind you, they weigh a ton as well.
Exactly, none of those are light. Aaron says it saves my non-existent CS80, but it's too heavy. But yeah, thanks for that, guys. That's interesting. So Simon, come on, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I'm fascinated.
What's the one thing you'd say from that? I'm pretty sure I know what it is, but what is the one thing you'd say?
It would be this baby. It's a labour of love. The CMI. Yeah, this CMI. The
That's not what I thought. I genuinely thought you were going to say Prophet 5.
That's what I thought too.
Because I know how much you love that thing, and it means so much.
Well, Prophet 5 now.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true. It's not a
it would
loss.
probably be that, and maybe the LM1.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
That would.
Yeah.
But interesting. There's some really couple of. I didn't know that Wagyu and Sam had the Bowen Solaris, which is great to see because I'm a huge fan of that. I really do like that. But interesting about the computers with all your work on it. Of course, I mean, it's your lifeline, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Ben, what would you say?
Being boring, I'd have to say my computer, but it'd probably be the V-Synth or the J8800 as an actual hardware synthesizer. Yeah.
Okay. Chris?
Well, the thing I can't live without is a computer, but aside from that, I would probably die trying to get the Moog 1 out of the house in time. But at least not...
would that take preference over some of your guitars, though?
Yeah, I thought you could say a guitar.
Yeah. I mean, I love my guitars, and I've got some favorites and some that really mean a lot of money to me. But to me, those could come back a bit easier for me than the Moog 1. And the Moog 1's my favorite synthesizer, so it's got to be between my favorite synthesizer and my favorite guitar. But I think just given the difference in the cost,
How heavy is that? Would it survive being chucked out of a window? Is it possible?
Would the ground survive?
Yeah.
Is it possible to chuck it out of a window, or is it too heavy?
I bet I know yours, Rob.
Go on.
DX5.
It's up there. It's definitely up there because it's the first full proper FM synth that I own. I mean, I had a TX7 before that, but finding it as I did and getting it and it being in as good as Nick, that's certainly up there. I know. Do you know? I mean, Fairlight. Yeah. I mean, I love the Fairlight, but it's a, and then things like the Prophecy have I love the Prophecy. I love the fact it's a very playable synth and it makes me sound better than I actually am, and that takes some doing. Akai S6000, that was a massive thing for me back 20 odd years ago. It really was. And then the FS1R is still a fantastic thing, but I guess probably DX5 or Fairlight.
Can I ask one other question? And this can be open to anyone. Go back in your past, your life, a piece of equipment that you nearly bought and you regret now that you didn't get it. Something that you've seen, could have bought, thought, no, I'll get it another time, or nah, and then really, really regret either having it or selling it.
Or perhaps to add to that, something that you owned and you sold,
right?
And you regretted it.
Yeah. I bet.
Well, something that I've owned and have sold is not one, 3 Juno 106s. I've bought and I've sold 3 Juno 106s, and I wish that I still had one of them now.
Wow. Mine is I had a Rev. Well, I've still got a Rev 1 Prophet 5, but it's bust. But I did have a really nice working Rev 1 Prophet 5, and yeah.
I can't. I'm struggling to think of. I think all the gear. I get very sentimental and attached to my gear. Like I had a CS1X, which is a cheap, crappy thing, and it was horrible in many respects. But I really loved it. I sold it, and it went to Mickey, in Ireland. So hopefully, it'll be taking pride of place in his new shed.
Get it in the shed, yeah.
Get it in the shed. But I mean, I think about all the gear I've owned. I mean, I regret selling my DX27 purely because it's one less thing in my collection that I would, probably end up buying at some point, because I do intend to have like one of everything at some point. But I can't think of anything, because I missed out on a couple of FS1Rs back in the day and really kicked myself. And they've shot,
Sasquatch is just said a Studer reel to reel. Now, reel to reels, things like B77 Studers and that, they are really gone up in price, and it seems to be. Well, if you watch Lisa Belladonna, she's got a whole room full of reel to reels. They seem to be coming back.
They do, yeah.
Vogue now, but it's an interesting one. Yeah.
Neil Loughran
I had a
here.
Revox, I had a Revox one.
For big money now. Big money.
Yeah. Neil Loughran says he almost had Tony Banks' JP8 for 250. You say that, but I know that that my friend Mickey almost got one for free, but his parents said no.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why Mickey killed both. No, he did.
Oh, yeah. Rightly so as well, Mickey, lad. Yeah.
Sasquatch will get selling his SX1000. Yeah, that's a nice
great.
thing. Yeah. What else have we got in here?
CS5. I sold one of those for 50 quid. I regret that. And I left a Poly 61 in a flat when I moved out because I just couldn't be bothered taking it with me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I got a couple answers.
Yeah.
So I think of the gear that I sold, I've had a lot of vintage guitar amplifiers, and I do miss some of my vintage Fender amplifiers, stuff from the 60s, and had some really cool ones. I mean, a lot of the different range, vintage Twins, Bandmasters, Super Reverb, Princeton reverb. I still have one Princeton reverb, and I have a Bassman, a 66 Bassman that I got to repair. But there were some really cool amplifiers that I let go. Probably my favorites were... I was really fond of Bandmasters. They're not the most cherished ones of that series, but I really liked a good old Bandmaster. Great sounding. But the stuff that I think that I could have had the opportunity to buy and I didn't, I just had a really nice chat with Aaron, who's imperfect in the chat, and so he did just did an interview with me this last week, which was really, just to talk to a friend is really great. And he was asking me how I got into synthesizers, and I said, well, there was quite a few false starts because I started as a guitar player. And I had learned, early enough that there were certain synthesizers I liked the sound of, these vintage ones, because of stuff that was out in the early 90s, I just didn't really care for. I was like, I don't want any of that stuff. But I knew that I liked the sound of a Mini Moog, and I knew that I liked the sound of some of the big polys by Oberheim and Roland. And every time I thought about buying one of those, I never made it happen because I didn't know anybody that was into synthesizers, or the people that played all were into Romplers, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with that. I want the old Mini Moogs, but nobody knew about them, and they were dirt cheap. I could have got one for a couple $100. I mean, ultimately I did buy a Juno in the early 2000s. And so that kind of got me going, but it kind of kicked myself because even back then, or back in the 90s when I started guitar, if I had decided to go, okay, I'm not going to spend money on a guitar, I'm going to get a synthesizer and check it out. Man, I could have had some really cool stuff. I would have likely have had I know I would have had a Mini Moog, a vintage Mini Moog, and I probably would have had a Jupiter or an OBX. Would have probably been the other two. But I got something that's, I would take over all of them now. So I wouldn't. I just would love to have those sitting next to it.
Yeah. But then this is, I've noticed as I get older, and I earn a little bit more money because the day job, has got a bit of a promotion or whatever, and I'm now able to buy the things that I lusted after or missed out on. The first time around because I didn't have enough money or just was in a different place and just not really into it as much as I am now. But luckily I've been able to pick up a few little nice things here and there, and I'm sure there'll be a few more.
I think your work with the Fairlight, Rob, is we've all enjoyed it. I mean, because the Fairlight in the 90s, I wouldn't say it was forgotten, but a lot of people now understand a lot more about this mythical machine because of your interest and the way that you've done a lot of work on your own website about it, and that's great, I think, because a lot of people still haven't seen one, haven't played one in flesh, and I know you've done your bit to do that, and I think that type of work that you've done, and again with the DX stuff, is just brilliant, because I know I've got a DX7, but you kind of forget about this stuff, don't you? And you've really pushed this, and it's I'm very grateful for you doing it, because it just after you got it back and you think, oh, he's right, there is FM it changed the world. Then we forgot about it for a while, and I think it deserves a little bit more of a pat on the back for what it did for history.
I mean, I've always liked it because, and it's the same with the Fairlight, because when I look back at the songs that formed me as a person, in my formative years, those songs that soundtracked, the teenage hormone fueled years, and that are very important to me. When you look back through them, later on you could see, oh look, they, lots of FM there or lots of Fairlight there, and so I have this emotional attachment to them, and I like to think that other people might have that as well, or might enjoy that as well at the same time, tell a story, because they're, and that's the other thing that fascinates me, is the stories behind them. It's not just, look, it's an FM synth. It's, with the Fairlight, it's the story of how the Fairlight came to be and where it was used, and that, those kind of myths, and the same with FM synths, and that's something I hope to explore more in 2021 and beyond, is do a bit more on that. And there's even talk. I mean, I'm speaking to more and more people that are saying, "Hey, I'd like to be involved in that," or "I know somebody who can help fund this," and maybe do a documentary movie about the Fairlight, which I think is way overdue.
Yeah, we need that.
I agree. Yeah, it'd be great.
Mainly because there are so many myths out there. There is also some great stories, stories that I've been told by people who were at the coalface, and going from Peter Vogel downwards. Just some amazing tales. There's lots of misinformation that needs putting right, and I just think there is a trend, a very welcome trend, for synthesizer or music technology documentary movies. There's been some absolutely fantastic ones.
I have a question, while you're on. Without giving names away, two-part question. The Black Series 3 or the Grey Series 3, is it still in existence?
I have not heard anything to the contrary.
And why was it done? Or was it done as a specific... and for the people that don't know, the Series 3 came out in white as a factory thing. But there is this one, it was Stockakin and Waterman that had it. Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah?
That's
it's
correct.
reared its ugly. I say its ugly face, but it's reared its face again the last couple of weeks. And
Has it?
Yes. There was pictures that came up on one of the sites, and I thought, I must ask Rob about that. One, what was the background of it? Was it a special order or?
Yeah, I think it was. So, as you say, it was owned by Stockakin and Waterman, and kind of still is. The last I heard. And I only became aware of it a few years ago when a guy called Barney Rosenthal in Liverpool came down to Cambridge with his PPG, which was the PWL PPG.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he took me to one side and said, "Hey, do you know, I know where there's a Fairlight, and if you're interested." And it turns out it's this black Fairlight, the legendary black Fairlight. And it was done like that at the factory. Now, there was never any black Fairlights out of the factory until that one. Even though Larry Fast had a black Fairlight, and I think Stevie Wonder might have had one at some point, and there were a few others. They were all done at the US distributor. So they all came from Australia as white, and then they literally were painted black.
Even the one that was at Psycho, the original Series 1. The picture of Kate Bush next to it.
Yes, that was hand. I think that was hand
painted, was it?
Because you see, the metal bit that is white.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas the Series 3 that was done, it was the first one in the UK apparently. Everything is black. So the wood's been is painted black, and the casing, the CPU is all black. So it was. It's an interesting piece, and we had some trouble kind of like tracking it down, and then we tracked it down, and then we had some trouble getting in touch with people who could give decisions, shall we say. Right. And I think it's something I need to you need to tell me where you've seen this crop up, because it'd be interesting, because that's the machine that the Hit Factory, as for those that don't know the story of Stockakin and Waterman and the whole PWL thing, it was called the Hit Factory. It's basically Motown Records for the mid to late 80s. Literally every number one single for God knows how many years was a PWL production, and that machine was at the core of a lot of it. All the strings on Never Gonna Give You Up. It's such a famous track now. That was all done on the Series 3. It's a huge legacy that machine has. It wasn't in great condition, but we talked to people and things went very quiet. So we're still trying on that one, but
fascinating, yeah.
We shall
Cool.
see. So Right, I think we've pretty much exhausted. Ben's disappeared. Ben's turned into a white
Frightened him
disc.
off.
I think he's probably just gone for a whiz. He's been drinking all this Guinness throughout the show. We'll just wait for him to get back. Was there anything in the chat room? So, Navy said, "Why did Stevie care about the colour?" Hey, very true. You want to impress me, Stevie? You drive. Talk Eddie Murphy coming to America, the sequel. Anybody else excited for that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yay. Looking forward to that.
One of my favourite films. It's great.
I know, yeah, it's great. Anyway, so look, guys, that's kind of it, really. I think we've talked ourselves through all the topics. There was one or two news things that we didn't cover. Maybe we'll cover them in the new year. They weren't that important, to be fair. It does kind of go quiet. Any major plans from any of you guys for 2021? I mean, Ben, Electro Romantics must be at the top of your list, surely.
Yeah. We're still building all that. We've got to build the light show yet. Finish building the set and get out there and start rehearsing and then hopefully gigging. But really looking forward to it. And it's a chance to. We did it once with Electro 80s, and there was bits that we weren't quite happy with. So this is a chance to get those bits exactly right, and hopefully be even more successful than Electro 80s were, which is
good stuff.
Pretty good.
Cryss, big plans for 2021, or just keep on keeping on?
Keep on keeping on. Yeah.
Cool.
Nothing excited. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep going. Simon, any interesting plans for you? Any exciting restorations, acquisitions?
Restorations means something's going to break down, Rob. I hope not. I'm changing my speakers. I've got to go down to see Tony. So
I want to go see his new gaff.
He's done a terrific job, and he's got he's put a lot of pictures up on Facebook about his kit he's got. So, but yeah, I'd like to get a new set of near field speakers. And he's got a one of those Toft ATB 32 mixers, which is probably going to replace this old thing here. So that's going to be nice. Other than that, I just hope, not just for me but for everyone, 2021 is a better year. Everyone stays safe, and for me, once again, thank you so much for letting me come on and being part of the show, and I just hope it continues to blossom the way it has done. And I'm sure I speak for everyone that watches the show. All three of you, well done, and thank you so much for doing it. It's changed our Sundays. I'm sure I'd say that with the greatest of enjoyment from us all. But brilliant. Keep up the good work, guys.
Oh no, well, I mean, thank you for those kind words, and thank you for joining us on those occasions. We hope you join us for many more from the infinite synth cave. Had to be done for one last time this year. Ben and Cryss and myself, we talked multiple times during the week. And we have just recently been discussing how we can just add some stuff to this whole thing that we're doing. This isn't a business. We're not making money off of this. Any money that you donate, and we are eternally grateful for all of those donations. It just gets ploughed back into this, and keeps this thing going. But we've got some interesting ideas that we'll hopefully throw out there and get it's just a community thing, so that should be interesting. So I think 2021 will just see more of the same and some extra bits added on for some extra fun for us. I think I'm hoping to do another soundtrack job next year, so that will hopefully that'll blossom, and maybe they'll spell my bloody name right this time. And I think
Puricelli.
Oh, don't. You're not. It's not original because I had a teacher at school.
It wasn't me that came up with that one. It was someone else on Facebook, and I thought, brilliant.
Yeah. Do you know I had an English teacher in 1983 or 84 that because you remember the opening credits for Puricelli, and if for those of you not old enough to remember this, it was an American drama about a lawyer, and he was solving crimes, and he was living in a caravan or a porter cabin or something like that, and he was building his house. He was always building his house. And the running joke, I think it was Terry Wogan over here in the UK used to make this running joke about Puricelli. Every episode, he was nowhere nearer building his house because it was always the same thing repeated over. It's like Taxi, you know, it's just the same loop over and over again. And so every time I went into English class, it was like, "Hey, Puricelli, have you finished building your house yet?" Thank you very much. So there you go. But it happens to the best of us, apparently. So we shall be back next Sunday, which will be 2021. I don't envisage huge amounts will have changed. We're in tier 4 here. I don't know what you guys are up there in the north of England. You're in 3 in Wellingborough, yeah.
3 for me.
3. Oh, blimey. Jeez,
Yeah.
I'm the black sheep now.
Yeah. I could go outside and do out me.
Yeah.
I'll defer to Simon. He knows more about the situation in California than I do.
Because he's been out, yeah.
I
He's
was
out more.
shocked. Yeah, I mean, we were told it's curfew from 10 till 5 a.m. So, yeah, shame, but it's still a lovely place to come. California, it's a damn sight warmer over there than it is here. So I'm very
well, fingers crossed. At some point, you know, if it's not next year, it might be the year after. We can all get together at one of these synth shows, whether it's NAMM or whether it's something over here in the UK. And
well, Cryss and I have actually spoken, didn't we, Cryss, about meeting up and going up to Burbank and going and having lunch and then kicking the door down and at what's it
Perfect
called again?
Circuit.
Perfect Circuit, yes.
Yeah.
It's a crazy.
Yeah, they got some
shop
cool
over
stuff
there.
in that shop.
Oh
haven't
yeah,
they?
it's a great shop. Yeah, so looking forward to doing that for sure.
I'm not jealous.
Come with us, Ben.
Rob, me and you can have a pie at Park and go and kick the door in a Dawson's.
Yeah. I would say that, but I actually get to go to America quite a bit normally, so I might go and join these guys, and you can go and.
All right,
yeah.
Right, I'll get myself a bottle of White Light, then go and sit at Park on my own.
White light. Oh yeah, those are the days. Guys,
Wait,
it's been an
get yourself a bottle? You're supposed to make yourself a bottle in the shed.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure doing this thing with you for most of this year, and I look forward to many, many more. And we shall be back, as we said, same time, same place, next week, 8 p.m. on what day is it going to be? It's going to be January something, 3rd, isn't it? January 3rd. Because I go back to work on the 4th, and that's the Monday. So
right.
Yeah, January 3rd.
correct.
Yeah, January 3rd, 2021. If you want to, let's just remind, because I've got to do this, please do like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get reminders of when the show is on. If you want to also come and visit us on our Facebook page and join us there. If you want to donate, the link is down below in the description, but this is it here. Any donations would be incredibly welcome. That keeps us, this thing going and able to do the things that we do. So thank you ever so much for your patronage once again. We will see you next year. I just need to keep waffling while I just queue up the outro video. This is all very professional.
Oh, so speaking of New Year's 2021 plans, right? I think we had some plans to make an outro song, right?
We did.
Or
Or at least one of us did.
Yes.
Yeah,
all right. We've done our bit. We've done our bit.
We'll give him a little leeway since he was doing scoring for films.
Yeah.
All right, let me see if I can try and get something done this week so we can have it for next week's show, the first show of 2021. How's that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try my best. I'm not making promises, although this is now on record. I will try. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your company this evening. We will see you all same time, same place next week. Say goodbye, everybody. See you. Bye. Love.
Goodbye, everybody.
Happy New Year. Stay safe.
Happy New Year. Stay safe. Yeah.